So residuals play an important role in determining the adequacy of the linear model. So let's go back and think about what residuals are. So residual is the difference between the observed and the predicted value. So residuals can be used for the following purposes: to determine whether the linear model is appropriate, and to describe the relation between the predictor and response variables, and whether the variance of the residuals is constant, and to check for outliers. So we can create a residual plot, which is a plot of the residuals against the predicted variable. And then we can talk about whether that the linear model is appropriate or not. So here we have an example of a residual plot. So again, remember these are our x values and then our residuals. So there's no pattern here, but here we have patterned residuals, and if there's a pattern, then we say the linear model is not appropriate. So that's one of the kind of things you also want to go back and check for. So you checked for your linear correlation coefficient, you went back and you checked for r squared, then you want to go and you want to look at your residual plot and see if there's certain conditions that fail, and one of those is if there's pattern residuals, then your linear model is not appropriate. So another condition is what we call constant error variance. So if a plot of the residuals against the explanatory variable shows that the spread of the residuals increasing or decreasing as the explanatory variable increases, then a strict requirement of the linear model is violated, and that requirement is called constant error variance. So here's a model of that. So you'll see here, as our explanatory variable gets wider, the residuals are kind of clumped together and then they're spread out. So when that happens, we say that our linear model is not appropriate as well. And then our last condition here is we want to check to make sure that there are no outliers. So we can see that from a scatter diagram. We also can see that from a residual plot and then a box plot. So those are the conditions you also want to check for in your residual plots to make sure that the linear model is appropriate. After you went through the linear correlation coefficient, you checked for your coefficient of determination, which is r squared. So go back and check through all of those things.